Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, we begin the 13th, the last Pedic of Masech Kesubos, on Daf Kuf Daled Amud Beis at the bottom of the Amud. Zok Heilige Mishnah, Shnei Dayanei Gezeres Hayu B'Yerushalayim. There were two judges that would make decrees in Yerushalayim, which the Gemara will discuss decrees regarding what? Who were they? Admain v'Chanan ben Avishalim. Chanan oime Shnei Dvarim. There were two halachas that Chanan said. Admain oime Shiva, and there were 7 halachas that Admain said, which will be brought over here in this Pedic. And it's being brought over here in this Masechta because, as we'll see, the halachas that Chanan said are regarding the halachas we're speaking about of a woman, one of the conditions of her collecting her mezainis when she's married and even later. And this halachas, as we'll see, that Chanan said, so Chanan said two halachas that the Chachamim did not agree with him. So here the Mishnah brings the two halachas of Admain, Chanan. And we'll see here first the first halacha of Chanan. Mi shahalach lemedina sayam. A person traveled overseas. V'ishtoi tevas mezainis. And his wife comes to Bezdin and is demanding that she should get fed from his properties. She says, my husband left me nothing and I need to be fed. Chanan says, Tishba b'seif. She swears if it comes at the end. What does the end mean? If, as Rashi says, we hear that the husband passed away and now she's coming to collect the ksubah, so then she'll have to swear that she got nothing from him and only then could she take the ksubah. But if she's coming now in the beginning, the husband's still alive, but they didn't hear he passed away, and she wants to collect from his zainis, for this we give her, she does not have to swear. The Bnei Kainim Gedalim argued with Chanan, and they said, she has to swear whether in the beginning she wants to get mezainis now, or she wants to get her ksubah later. She has to either way swear before she can collect. Rabbi Yosef ben Harkenes also said like this opinion of the Bnei Kainim Gedalim. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said, Yofe Oma Chanan. What Chanan says is beautiful. He's right. Letishba ela b'seif. She only has to swear in the end if she's coming to collect her ksubah if they hear that her husband passed away. So the Gemara here will begin a long discussion regarding what it says in the Mishnah, Shnei Dayanim. There were 2 Dayanim, and B'chlal, different things regarding Dayanim, as we'll see. Viramini, the question was asked, Shloisha Dayanik Zeilis Hayu B'Yerushalayim. In a Brais it says that there were 3 Dayanim that were judges for matters of Gzeilis, matters of thievery in Yerushalayim. Who are they? Admain ben Gadoi, Chanan HaMitzri, and Chanan ben Avishalim. So here it says that there were 3. So the Gemara spells out the question. Kashye tlas hatrei. The first question is that in our Mishnah says there were 2, and here it says there were 3. And Kashye gzeiris agzeilis. And over here it says that the 2 Dayanim were making decrees, and in this Brais it says that they were judging matters of gzeilis. And says the Gemara, now bishloi mitlas hatrei lekashye. The question whether there were 2 or 3, that's not a question. The chashiv loy katani. Again, the chashiv lei katani, those that are prominent is what the Mishnah mentions. Loi chashiv, what's not prominent, loi katani, the Mishnah does not say. Or actually, Taisus over here says the term chashiv and loi chashiv does not mean who's more prominent or less, because really Chanan HaMitzri, which is not mentioned in our Mishnah, Taisus proves that he was more chashiv, but it only mentions our Mishnah, the Chanan ben Avishalim and Admain, because they are the ones that we're going to enumerate their halachas. Chashiv means the ones that we're going to mention here later. Their halachas, that's what it mentions. So therefore it only mentions that there were 2, these 2. Elo, gzeiris, agzeilis, kashye. However, the question over here, whether this is dayanim that took matters of gzeiris, that they made decrees, or matters of gzeilis, that still remains a question. It's all one and the same thing. Shayu geizerin gzeiris al gzeilis. They made decrees regarding matters of gzeilis when it comes to money matters. Tanya, as we learned in the Braise, kitma netiya, if an animal walks into someone else's property and goes and cuts off a little tree that's growing. Rabbi Yossi said, the ones that made decrees in Yerushalayim said that netiya bashnasa, if it was a small sapling, a year old, shtei kesef, you have to pay 2 silver coins. Bashtei shanim, 2 years old, arba kesef, you have to pay 4 silver coins. Even though this is not exactly a knas, but since this is a set amount that they decreed to pay, even though it's really a monetary payment for the loss, but nevertheless it's called a knas because of this amount that they set to pay. V'ramini, now there's another brisa where the question was asked, a contradiction to our Mishnah. This brisa says, Shloisha dayanik zaydes hayu b'Yerushalayim. There were 3 dayanim that judged in Yerushalayim, and who were they? Admon, v'Chanan, v'Nachum. So it was Admon, Chanan, and Nachum. So why is Nachum not mentioned there in our Mishnah? Rav Papa says, Man Tana Nachum. Who is the Tana that mentioned Nachum as well? Rav Nosson. This is Rav Nosson, and our Tana disagrees in the Mishnah. Tanya in Abraisa, we learned Rav Nosson says, Av Nachum Amadai as well. He was one of those that decreed the decrees in Yerushalayim. And but the Chachamim did not agree that he was part of them. Frakte Gemara, V'su leke, besides these 2 or 3, there's no additional dayanim in Yerushalayim. But v'hamar Rav Pinchas Amar Abaishia, Shloish Meis V'tishim V'arba Bati Dinim Hayu Yerushalayim. There were 394 Bati Dinim, courthouses in Yerushalayim, and then Kenegdon Bati Knesiyas, the same amount of shuls for davening, or Kenegdon Bati Midrashas, and the same amount of shuls for learning Torah, or Kenegdon Bati Seifrim, and the same amount of Chadarim, Yeshivas, for the children to learn Torah in Yerushalayim. So there weren't 2 or 3, much more. Answers the Gemara, of course, Dayanin, Tu v'Havu. There were many, many judges. What our Mishnah is saying over here is that Geizere Gzeiris Kamrina, the one that set certain decrees for everybody, as we said before, regarding the matters of Gzeilis, that there were only 2 or 3. Amar Rav Yehuda said in the name of Rav Asi, the ones that decreed in Yerushalayim, they would take their pay 99 moneh mitruma salishka. It came from the truma salishka and the Beis Hamikdash. Now, lo ratzu, if they didn't want, which would simply mean they didn't accept this payment, they wanted more. So we added more. Frakta Gemara, lo ratzu. You're saying that they didn't want to accept this payment? Are we speaking about dayanim, which are Rishayim? These are dayanim, great tzaddikim. Of course they would accept whatever pay they were given. Elo, says the Gemara, lo yisafko. If what they were given was not enough for them. Afapi shaloirat. So even if they didn't want it, you should add more to them. By sifin alein, we would add to give them the full payment so they can have peace of mind to be able to be geizik zedis. That's what the Mefarshim say. Sagt the Gemara weiter, Karna have a shakel istiria mizakai. Karna, when he judged the dintayre, so he took from both balidinim a payment. He took an istiria, a certain amount, a coin, from the zakai, the one that went out to be the one that's right, zakai, and istiria mechayv, and he also took the same payment from the one that was chayv, the one that had to pay. And v'dan ludina, and he judged them. Fragt the Gemara, but v'hechi yavet hachi. How did he take pay from both of these balidinim? The pasuk says, "V'sheichad le'sikach." You're not allowed to take sheichad, and that includes even in such a case when you're taking from both balidinim. Taisus points out the Gemara does not ask this question regarding the geizer exedis that got paid from the truma salishka. How could they get paid? Because if they're getting paid from the money of the tzibur, that's not the issue. But if they're getting paid directly from the balidinim, then it's an issue. So the Gemara continues, if you'll argue and say, this is only, the sheikhar is only if you're not taking from both of them, because if you take from one baldin, dilma asilat sluyedina, because then you may come to paskin in favor of that baldin that you took money from him. So and karna, kivin the shakam tarvayu, but karna, since he took pay from both balidinim, lo yasilat sluyedina, he's not going to come to paskin in favor of one of them. But the Gemara says that's not an answer. If you're not going to paskin in favor of one of them, is this still allowed? But we learned in Abraisa, one may not take sheichad. What is this pasuk teaching me? Is it telling me not to take sheichad and then to paskin that the one that's supposed to be chayiv will be zakai and the reverse for the one that's supposed to be zakai? But the pasuk already says, "Leisata mishpat," one may not tilt the judgment away from justice. So that we know. Ela filo, the pasuk that says not to take sheichet is saying even l'zakis is a zakai, v'lachayiv is a chayiv, even if it's with the intention to paskin correctly for the one that's zakai and the one that's chayiv. Amra Torah v'sheichet lesikach. Still, the Torah says, do not take sheichet. Says the Gemara, Hanamili heichi d'shakol b'Torah sheichet. So the answer here is, though, regarding Karna, how is he able to take sheichet from both of these bali dinim, even though this does not cause him to tilt the din in one direction or the other, but you still may not take sheichet, you may not take pay from the bali dinim. Says the Gemara, Hanamili heichi d'shakol b'Torah sheichet. If he's taking it as bribery, Karna b'Torah's agra v'shakol, he took this just as the pay for being a dayan, for doing this job for them, for being a dayan. Fragt the Gemara, but are you allowed to get paid if you're judging? But what now we learned in the Mishnah, a person that takes pay for being a dayan, to judge, so his halachas and paskins are all null and void. That's the Gemara. Hanamili agar dina. That's only if you're getting paid for the work you're doing as a judge. Karna agar betela v'shakol. However, Karna only got paid agar betela, which means he's getting paid for this, that he can't do the regular malacha, the regular work that he would do for his income. So the fact that he can't have that income, so he's getting paid for what he can't do. But to get paid betela for work he can't do, is that allowed? But Vatanya, when in another brayse, it's ugly, a dayan that takes pay for his dinim that he paskins. This brayse concludes shedinay din, but what he paskins is a psak din. So now, what is this brayse speaking about? Ile magadina is speaking about a dayan that takes pay for the work that he's doing as a dayan to judge. But how could this brayse say that dinay din, that is his din actually a din? But vatanya, as we quoted before, it says na brayse hanoitos char lodun din of betailing. Person that gets paid for judging, his dinim are null and void. So when this brayse here says that if he takes pay, so that's ugly, it's mechur for a dayan to take pay, aga betayla. It must be talking about even if he's getting paid for the work that he can't do. Vikatani, and it says in mechur a dayan, that it's mechur to take even this kind of pay. So how did Karna take pay from both of the balidin? Answers the Gemara, hanimili betayla deloy muchacha. That's only if it's something that you're saying that you're taking pay for work that you couldn't do, but it's not something that we see clearly that you're being taken away from an actual job that you have. But you're saying, I could have done another job, but if it's not something that you clearly are being taken away from, then it's mechur, it's ugly. Karna betel de muchahave. In the case of Karna, when he went and judged these bali dinim, it was clear that he's being taken away from work, from a job that he had. The havetoi ba'avre, when the Gemara brings what his job was, the havetoi ba'amvere the chamre, he would smell the barrels of wine. They would pay him for this. They should smell the barrels of wine to know which barrels of wine should be sold first, which one may become vinegary. So that was his job, sort of a wine taster, and therefore he was being taken away from this job. The Gemara brings similar we find similar regarding Rav Huna. When a judgment came in front of him, the people wanted him to be a judge in a dinteire. Amalu, he would say to them, Hovali gavre, get me a person, the dalili b'charikoi, that's going to bring the water for my field, and then I'll be able to paskin you the din. So over here also he was ready to take a person or ready to take pay for someone for the aga betela, the work that he couldn't do in his field. Abavod said, here the Gemara will continue and explain how terrible it is to take sheikhad. Come and see how blind are the eyes of the people that receive sheikhad. Adam chashbein, a person that has something that's not good with his eyes. So what does he do? He pays money. He can pay him a lot of money for a doctor. Safek misrape, safek eini misrape, and it's a doubt whether he'll be healed or not. These people that accept sheikhad, noitlin shava prute, they just take one coin, and this blinds them. Shonem, as the pasuk says, ki sheikhad yave pikchim. The sheikhad makes even the wise blind. The pasuk says sheikhad makes the wise blind. Most definitely it makes the foolish ones blind. It makes tzaddikim to not go on a straight path, to see things off crooked. Most definitely for the shaim. Midi tipshir risham b'nei dineninu. Are tipshim and risham people that are usually dayanim? How are we darshaning this pasuk that it also refers to the shaim or tipshin? Ella says the Gemara, this is what it means to say. The sheikhad will make the chachamim blind. Even a person which is a great chacham, and he takes sheikhad, he will not leave the world without having a blinding of the heart, that in his heart he won't be able to understand and feel things the way he's supposed to. And then he's still a dayan, and he takes sheikhad, so most definitely at that point the sheikhad will affect him. And same also the Yisal of Divrei Tzadikim. that it makes the words of tzaddikim to be crooked. What this means is, afil tzaddik gomor, v'lekeach sheichad, even an absolute tzaddik, but when he takes sheichad, ein nifta min ha'olam v'le tirav das. He won't be nifta, he won't pass away from the world without not having clarity of mind. And then when he's still a judge, most definitely if you take sheichad at that point, it'll cause him to blind his eyes. So the Gemara Avdimi came and said, what's the meaning of the pasuk where it says, Melech b'mishpat yamed eretz, a king with his justice establishes the land, v'ish trumais yarsena, and a man of trumais destroys it. What does this mean? If a judge is similar to a king, he doesn't need anything from anybody. So no sheichad involved. So yamed eretz, this kind of judgment establishes a land. But if he's compared to a kohen that is receiving from others, he has to go down to the granaries to get his trumas and maisris, yersena. So then this judge that receives from others, also destroys the land. A dayan from a city that borrows from the people from the city, he's accustomed to borrowing things that he needs, whether animals or vessels from people. So he's puzzle of paskening for them because he got a favor from them. But it is only said if this dayan himself doesn't have what to lend out to others as well. But if he, just like he borrows, he also lends to them, so then it doesn't matter. Because he also needs a favor from them, but they need a favor from him, so it sort of equals out. Is this true? But Rav borrowed from the people, the Yisraelim actually from Bar Maryan. And they were very rich, and he borrowed from them. Even though because they were so rich, they didn't have to borrow anything from him. Then still, Rav paskin the halacha for them, and this he did not consider this to be sheichad. Answers the Gemara, Hasam la'achshuvinu hu deboy. Over there, Rav just wanted to give shivas to these Yisraelim by borrowing from them, so therefore, it wasn't being done that he was receiving a favor from them. Adarabah, he was giving more than he was receiving. Omar Rav said, my time with the sheichad though. What's the reason one should not take sheichad? What happens when you take sheichad? Kiva the kabbaleh sheichad daminei. Once you receive sheichad from a baldin, ikr v'lei daite, you become close to him, legabei, to this person, v'havik kagufe. So much so you become like him himself. And ve'ein adam roya chayv alatzmei. A person cannot say anything negative on himself. And this is actually hinted in the word sheichad. My sheichad. What does the word sheichad mean? Shahu chad, that he becomes one with this person. Rav Papa said, a person should not paskan a halacha for someone that he loves, because he may not be able to see anything negative, and also to one that he hates, as the Gemara explains, the one that he loves, he can't see anything negative about him. The sanile, one that he hates, he can't see anything positive about him. Abai said, this Talmud Chacham, that's a Rav in the city, and the people of the city all love him. Don't think that this is because he's such a good Rav, and therefore they love him. The reverse is true. The reason they love him is because he's not actually rebuking them or teaching them, educating them properly enough, and therefore they're happy with him. He doesn't tell them anything. Omar Rav said, in the beginning I thought, the people from Mechuzah, where I lived, Kulu Rachmili, they all love me. When I was appointed as a judge, I said, so Minai Sanili, Umanai Rachmili. There are those that hate me, when I paskan halacha against them, that they're wrong, and those that love me. But then when I saw the man, the Mechayev Le'idne, Kazachilim Lamachar, that the ones that I say that are Chayev today, tomorrow I'm going to pass on that they're Zakai, so I said, Imirachim Kulu Rachmali. If they love me, so they all love me. Even the ones that I paskin for them and negative today, but then they'll realize that it's only positive and tomorrow I'm going to paskin positive for them. Imisnu Kulu Sanali. And if they look at me with a bad eye, they're all going to hate me. Even the ones that I paskin positive for them today, but because tomorrow I paskin for them against them, so therefore they're all going to hate me. So one of the chidushim in what Rav is saying over here is that in this kind of situation with the people in the city, he's allowed to paskin for them. Even though before we said not to paskin for people that you love or hate, but because over here, it's not something which is like firm. It's either they love him today and they hate him tomorrow, so therefore he's allowed to paskin for them. One should not take sheichad. What's the pasuk saying? Needless to say, you shouldn't take bribery money. Even sheichad of just words, nami yaser, is also not allowed. Why? The term that's used for money is betza, when you pay money. It doesn't say that, it just says sheichad. Hey, what's an example of sheichad dvarim? Shmuel was passing a bridge. Also, an individual came along. He gave him a hand to support it. So Shmuel says to him, what are you doing here? Who are you? I have it in Torah, and I'm here. I came that you should pass me a din Torah. So he says, Shmuel said, I'm puzzled to be a dayan for you because you supported me. Amem was sitting and he was paskening a din in a din Torah. Parach gatfa reisha. A feather flew onto his head. Also, an individual came along, shakle, took the feather off of his head. Amalei, so Rameh says to him, Maya videtich, what are you doing here? Amalei din isli. I have it in Torah with that I want you to pasken for me. Amalei pasil l'chaladina. You took this feather off of me, so that's like sheichad, that is sheichad, and you're pasul for the Torah. Marukve had some spittle on the ground in front of him. Also, this individual came along in Kasye, and he covered this spittle in front of him. Amalei, so Marukve said to this person, Maya videtech, what are you doing here? Amalei, din isli, I have it in Torah. Amalei, pasilin l'chaladina. Now that you did this for me, I'm pasul for you to be a dayan. Sagt the Gemara Rabbi Shmuel, but Rabbi Yossi have a rogla risi da have a meisele kol meilesh the Shabbato kanse de peire. So Rabbi Shmuel, but Rabbi Yossi rather had a worker in the field. Every year of Shabbos, he would bring him a kanse de peire, a basket of fruits. One day, he brought in the basket of fruits on a Thursday, a day earlier. Amalei, so Rabbi Shmuel, but Rabbi Yossi says to him, what's the difference? Why this week you brought me a day earlier? Amalei, dina isli, I have it in Torah that I need you to pasken for me. And I said, Agavorche, that now that I'm already here on the way and I'm coming to you for this Torah a day earlier, Aisile, so Lamar, I'm going to bring for the master the basket of fruits a day earlier. Rav Shmuel ben Rabbi Yossi did not accept the fruits from him, and Amalei, he said to him, I'm pasul for you for the din Torah. So he sat down another group of Rabbanim from his students to make the Torah, and they were paskening, they were discussing the Torah. So Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi himself was there in the Beis Medrash, and he was walking, and he heard the discussion of the din Torah. He said to himself, that my worker, he could have said this argument, he could say this argument. In other words, he was only seeing the positive in his side of the din Torah. So Amar, he said to himself, Teipach nafsham shamakabli sheichad, that those people that accept sheichad, their souls should be blasted, because I see what happens when you accept sheichad. Mani, if it's me, shalei natalti, I did not take the sheichad. Ve'im natalti, shali natalti, and even if I would take this basket of fruits, it's the basket of fruits from my field. So kach, this is what happened, that I saw only positive for this baldin. Mekable sheichad, alachas kama v'kama. People that literally accept bribery, for definitely they cannot pasken a din properly. Mefarshim point out over here in this story, why didn't he accept the basket of fruits? He could have taken it, since in the end he's anyways not going to be the dayan here, and it is his basket of fruits. So why not take it? So the answer is, I think the Ben Yehoyada says, the answer is that because it was his own students that then he established that they should be the Dayanim, so if they would see that this individual gave their teacher the honor of a basket of fruits, so then it would even be sheichet for them. So therefore he didn't want to accept it. Zakta Gemara, a similar story, Rabbi Shmuel bar Elisha, Aisile, Rabbi Shmuel bar Elisha, which was a kohen. So Aisile, hu gavre, reishis agez. A person brought him the reishis agez, the first shearing of the wool from the animal that belongs to the kohen. Every year you have to give to the kohen a 60th of what you share. Amalei, so Rabbi Shmuel bar Elisha tells him, Heichat, from where are you? Amalei, so he says to me, Duchplan, from this and this place. So Rabbi Shmuel bar Elisha asks him, and from there until here, you didn't find any kohen to give him from the reishis agez? So he said, Dina Isli, I have it in Torah. And I said, Agav Urchaya, on the way to you for the Torah, I'll bring you the reishis agez as well. So Rabbi Shmuel bar Elisha said to him, I'm pasul to be a dayan for you. This is sheichad. And he did not accept the reishis agez. And then he sat down, a zuge, the Rabbanon, a group of his students from Talmidei Chachamim, the Kadainile, and they were paskening, they were discussing the din Torah. Bahadi the Kazal, as he was walking rather, and he was listening to the discussion, Vasi, Amar, he said, he was speaking to himself, he said, he could taina. This is a good taina that he could taina. This is another good taina he could taina. And then he realized that he only sees positive about this person. Omar, he said, Teipech nafshem shel mekabel sheicha, the souls of those that take sheicha should be blasted. If I did not take the sheicha, vim natalti, shali natalti, and if I would take, this belongs to me, I'm a kayan, and I have the right to take the reishis ages. So kach, this is what happened, that I only see positive. Mekabel sheicha, people that actually accept sheicha, al achas, kama v'kama, most definitely could only see positive, and therefore teipech nafshem of those that take sheicha. Simon B'Teif.